Welcome back to the podcast, Catch Some SoulShine. I'm talking with Tracy Matthews today, and we are really going to dive into grief, letting go of old perceptions. Tracy and I uh, exchanged a bit before this, and she's talking about reinventing herself.
Mhm.
And how many times do we do that? I just went through something very similar with my job, which we'll get into when we start the podcast. I want you to give a little introduction about yourself, and then we're going to dig right in.
Sure. My name is Tracy Matthews. I help jewelry business owners launch, grow, and scale successful businesses. I'm launching a new brand called the Art of Reinvention, supporting powerhouse creative women in having a prosperous pivot. I see the need for people to make changes, step up, level up in their lives. And I know that a lot of people out there are experiencing this desire to step up into their next big mission or pivot in their business. I'm excited because it's so needed right now.
That kind of ties in with the whole grief premise because, as I stated before, I'm a nurse practitioner. Um, the last job that I had was my most lucrative. I'm like, I finally have arrived. I'm getting paid what I should be as a nurse practitioner. Over time, things kept chipping away at me.
Mhm.
Loss of time off, more demanding, more patient. Some things weren't aligning with the way I wanted to treat people, and had a really difficult conversation with my boss. My husband happened to be home for lunch. I'm glad he heard that conversation. I got off the meeting and said, "I can't work there anymore." He goes, "No, you can't." The next day, I turned in my resignation. I had no job lined up. What the heck am I gonna do now? I dive into this art business with meditation, pouring into myself and radical self-love. I decided I'm gonna go where I feel led. That's one of the reasons I reached out to you a couple of months ago.
Mhm.
I saw you at Kathy Heller's and felt connected with what you were saying
Mhm.
on stage. You have a way of helping people, pulling people along. So it's a little
Mhm.
bit different than what I'm helping people with grief, the grief
Mhm.
process, but you're pulling people through and letting go of that job. Even though I knew I had to, I grieved.
Mhm. There's
When
always a grieving in letting go because the
Mhm.
old version of you has to die if you want to step into the next thing. As growth oriented human beings, part of our process is going through a series of, they call it different things in different contexts, but like the hero's journey. We overcome a challenge and then we come on the other side, and here's what we were able to achieve and accomplish. The truth is, when we're going through that, it's so hard. And if we don't let ourselves grieve the loss of the old version of ourselves, we'll get stuck.
it's important if you're gonna lead these women through this new identity, that doesn't mean that it's easy or you'll find success right away if you dig deep and define success. Like for me, happy, joyous, and free, that is what
Mhm.
success is all about,
Right.
right?
Yes.
So, enjoying the journey is really what it's all about. So, how does that work with this new program you're developing?
Let me talk a bit about enjoying the journey and creating a
Yeah.
vision. One of the biggest challenges people have is they've gotten into the habit or way of being where they're comfortable. They've stretched themselves, they've grown. I was just speaking with a very successful business owner recently who was like, I'm really interested in what you offer, which I don't want to leave my business. I don't need to be in the business anymore because I've set it up for success to work without me. But I have these other passions. Instead of growing this coaching aspect and mentoring people in my industry, I keep reverting back to what I know. because that feels easy. There's complacency. I don't think it's necessarily people always losing their career. They're having to reinvent themselves and start over. I think a lot of times this comes from you've mastered something and what's the next thing, right? What we've always done previously becomes very easy. It's hard to find grounding when there's all these things going on. We can keep busy with what we know to make time to create the new vision and think bigger to create a vision beyond the vision. To have a brilliant, joyous, successful life, define what success looks like to you because it's going to be different for everyone. For me, success looks like being in a happy, healthy relationship. It looks like being financially compensated and paid very well. It looks like living debt free, making an impact on the world. It looks like having a lot of exposure in the sense that I'm helping and supporting a lot of people. At the end of the day, I wouldn't be doing anything if it wasn't for the impact that I'm making. If I just wanted to make money, I would be in medical sales because I'm great at sales and medical sales is where you make a lot of money. But that's not the impact I want. I'd rather do something changing people's lives. Clarify that vision and create a big vision for your life, not just your business. Think beyond the vision, stretching yourself further. That's when you can start to reverse engineer. If I want to create this for myself and I have this dream of doing X, Y, and Z, what is the first step I need to take to get there? And I think the challenge a lot of people have is knowing where to start. There's a burning desire for them to change. My program that I'm starting, the Art of Reinvention, it's really for people who are asking the question, what's next? And they want accountability to think through their next big thing and be held accountable for stepping into this new version of themselves and being able to have a sounding board and someone to bounce those ideas off of so they can shape the offers and know how to really put it out there in a way, especially if they're like, for instance, this person I was speaking with has a successful business in the beverage industry. She sees many colleagues just starting out go into burnout from year 3 to 5. She navigated through that, and she wants to build an arm or a wing of her business all about coaching, but she's never been a coach before, so she doesn't know how to do that. And so the idea of starting that, it's easier for her to go, like, look at her P&L or manage her team instead of stepping into this new thing. Speaking with another person who is a hair trichologist, she actually helps educate people on helping them keep their hair and grow back hair, which I'm like fascinated by. And she's like, my industry is really toxic and I want to be a disruptor in my industry and change the way um, we're educating people and moving forward and showing them how to be not just a great stylist, but to educate their customers on how to keep their hair. This is a huge thing because as we age or go under stress, we start losing our hair.
Right.
So for me, it's helping people create a movement in their space to make a greater impact.
I love reading books, and a couple books ago, I read The Big Leap.
It's
And
great.
what you are talking about is exactly what they talk about in this book. A lot of people are in the zone of excellence. I was excellent at my job. Loved my patients and they loved me. I knew deep down there was something more. To get to the zone of genius, it's taking that leap into the unknown. You have this burning desire. You
Mhm.
know that that's your purpose. It's something that's calling you, and you just have to take that leap. Everybody needs we thrive in community. I really believe that. When you have a healthy community lifting each other up, I think the sky's not the limit, it's
Mhm.
beyond. You have a community with, this new, venture.
Oh, you mean my program? Yes, it's launching the first week of March. The program is a 10-week program with 2 extra weeks of support, so technically it's 12 weeks. We'll be offering additional support after the program's over as well.
You started out in the jewelry business, right?
Yes.
You had this, push inside of you. The premise of this podcast is awakening brilliance after life's darkest moments. And Abraham Hicks talks about contrast all the time. Everything in our life has contrast. You can be in flow and on this great trajectory, but often there's a contrast or some kind of darkness. Do you mind sharing a bit about your journey and how you got started? And
Sure. Yeah, I've had a lot of contrast in my life. So we're the Phoenix Risings. I seem to have a lot of that in my life. I'm a 6'3" in human design, a 6'3" generator.
I'm
Both
curious.
files are based on trial and error. I'm a little bit older than I look. I'm 53. So started my business in the early 90s. Um, After my mom passed away suddenly, it was quite unexpected. I had an opportunity to complete my bachelor's of art at Loyola Marymount. I took a jewelry making class and realized I had this passion for design. It was the very beginning of the independent designer scene, way before Etsy. I launched a jewelry brand in my late 20s, selling as a side hustle for about 5 years until I launched my brand full time in my late 20s. And I built that brand by selling it to retail stores all around the world. I had about 350 accounts, a lot of celebrity fans, like all the things a young woman in her 20s was dreaming about. And then, you know, 2007 happened. It was an amazing year. We were scaling the company. I had just launched a couple of other collections. So we had three core offerings, original brand, my men's line and my fine jewelry line. And we were shipping. It was right in front of the holiday season, and September 2008 happened and the market crashed. My business was pretty much wiped out overnight. It was a devastating. There was nothing I could do about it, and I had what I had thought made educated business decisions. In hindsight, I see things that I could have done differently, like not taking the order that wasn't approved by my factor. But I learned a lot. Unfortunately, I had to close the business and file for bankruptcy. I was very burnt out and stressed out. And I'd kind of forgotten the reason why I started the business because the dream I had in my early 20s of having my name in lights and being this famous designer was no longer as important to me as I was approaching 40. I was teaching yoga and doing different things. In this transition, I still wanted to make jewelry and was passionate about it. In 2012, I launched a company called Flourish and Thrive Academy. I launched a second jewelry company under my name, Tracy Matthews, designing custom jewelry, primarily in the bridal market where I was designing engagement rings and wedding bands and then heirloom redesigns and pieces of jewelry where I would rework pieces after someone had lost a loved one. It was a true passion because my mother passed away when I was very young. And I inherited jewelry from hers that I reworked into new pieces. So I was able to use what I learned in that um, reinvention stage from having a brand sold in hundreds of stores around the world to a brand working one-on-one with clients. I grew the company quickly. It didn't take much time because it was a simple business model. I got it to a point where it's maybe 5% of my time, but made me a couple $100,000 a year. Highly profitable, low time investment. That's when I realized if you can streamline and systematize your jewelry business, you can have something that's very profitable that fuels your creativity. So I started teaching people how to do this with consulting and I launched courses and programs. Flourish and Thrive Academy has been around for about 13 years. We are currently in a reinvention stage of scaling back some offers and redesigning things, which is exciting and fun. But it's important because I'm in the stage of reinvention. My desire and impact has expanded beyond just this small industry that I'm in. So I'm working on handing things over to my coaches. When I met you, Kathy Heller's group, a couple weeks before that event, I had done a hot seat. I came clean. I was in a state of unrest and felt stuck. I didn't want to disrespect the thing that I've built for the last 12 years because it's remarkable. But I'd grown the business as far as I could. My message was bigger than that small audience. My passion is supporting creatives in expanding possibility. Life is too short to put your dreams on hold because You don't know when it's your time. As we're recording, there are terrible wildfires in
Right,
California wiping out complete cities. It's
right.
insane.
Daughter's living with me right now.
When my mother passed away in my early 20s, she was only 45. She had just started following something she was passionate about. She was gonna start a business. She'd met the guy of her dreams. It was her season in life, and she goes in for elective surgery and dies of a complication. You just don't know. That was the pivotal moment, the calling when the burning is so strong, because what will happen as an adverse effect if you don't is way worse than if you take the risk to jump
Right.
forward. I'm doing this program, Art of Reinvention, which I'm very excited about. If anyone wants to learn about it, you can look me up on Instagram and find me at Tracy Matthews NY, um, or reach out to Dawn because she'll head you in my direction. But the reason I'm sharing this is supporting creatives in all stages to understand their dreams matter. Not everyone has the same risk tolerance as I do and wants to start be an entrepreneur for 30 years. But what if you had a side hustle that made you money and
Yeah,
provided significant income to take your family on bucket list trips or do something that changed your life because you're making an extra 20, 30, $40,000 a year doing something you loved anyway. Yeah.
and what if you could just put that into your life and make it part of your life that
Mhm.
elevates your life
Yeah.
experience? I'm 61.
It's
I just quit my job, and
amazing.
it was a huge part of our income, but I've never been happier. So happy right now, and I'm reinventing myself.
Mhm.
When you were talking about the jewelry company, which you love, what came to my mind is, yes, that's your zone of excellence, and it is
Mhm.
excellent program. It's a great thing for people. As long as I'm living, I wanna keep growing and thriving. That's living a full life,
It's true.
enjoying the journey. I used to say I have the disease of more, but I don't look at it as a disease anymore. I really wanna keep expanding, but the difference is I'm not looking out here for my happiness, living
Mhm.
that happiness every step of the way while you're doing what you want. Our economy seems to be growing, but there's a lot of uncertainty. I think it's really admirable, and I'm excited about what I'm going to be doing to help people through grief because it is part of everyday life. You know,
Yes, it sure is.
to have tools to get through that darkness and be able to take that leap to do
Mhm.
something absolutely love is imperative, I think. I know that you had dark moments. I follow you on Instagram and I know you met the love of your life and got this bonus child.
By 30, I had, lost my mother, had to stop going to school, which was something that I really was important for me, because of getting involved in my parents' divorce battle. Got divorced by 30, lost my mom, went bankrupt. There's been a lot in my journey of
Mhm.
ups and downs, but it's the ride I'm on. I got married young, 25 years to who I thought was the love of my life and realized, um, after 12 years that he wasn't. The divorce was, not difficult, but the ending of that relationship was very challenging because of the circumstances. I always thought of myself as someone in partnership for most of my life. I had kids and stuff. My career was important because I'm driven and motivated. After Mike and I got divorced, I ended up moving to New York City a couple of years later. Life happened. I got caught up in the lifestyle. I did have some relationships, but really that kind of soul connected, what do I call it? Like a equal conscious partnership type relationship that I was looking for. My mid 40s, I was getting older and it became clear that the clock was ticking as far as having children. That was okay because there was an opportunity to freeze my eggs. I would check in, stay open to possibilities. And if it's not your own children, it's fine. I used to work with this healer and she would say, Tracy, I feel kids coming in, but kids can come in different ways. I spent a lot of time getting clear on what this partnership looked like. Um, I went through a manifestation process and we joke, I manifested him. He laughs because he'll say, we'll be in this community group and he's like, you guys manifested me. If you don't like it, it's your fault. um, Part of that process was gaining a lot of clarity on what I wanted to experience in that relationship. And so I got clear, and out of the blue, he shows up at my door, and there's a whole story behind that. I always thought I'd meet someone online. At the age of 48, at the ripe young age of 48 is when we met. And so he lived in Arizona. I lived in New York City. Our paths probably would have not crossed unless this one event happened. He walked into my apartment. It was amazing. We didn't start dating for 6 months, but it was the start of an amazing partnership and growth journey.
Yeah.
And the best part about it is he has 2 amazing daughters who, were hesitantly amazing to welcome me in, but, like, they were a little hesitant at first because he had other relationships between their mom and me, and kids don't understand when a new woman comes in. As a child of divorce, I wanted to give them security that I'm here for it. This isn't play for me. I'm all in on this relationship. We have a great family.
Manifesting that relationship is important because you became clear
Mhm.
on what you wanted that to look like
This is true.
and what partner you wanted in your life. When you do that, you call it in. I feel your energy. It's so magnetic and I see your vision.
Thank you, Dawn.
I'm glad you agreed to come on the podcast, and we will
Thank you.
have your links in the comments. If anybody has questions, reach out to both Tracy and I, and I'll direct you to Tracy if I don't know the answer to your questions. Just remember that life is really a journey, and we all have dark moments. But if you keep pursuing your dreams and reaching for that zone of genius, the sky is not the limit.